My name is Jack Wiest. I'm the Executive Director of the Alternative Schools Network. Just very quickly, I want to recognize some key leaders that we've worked together for years on the issue of youth employment. You'll see some of the staggering data in terms of the youth and young adults who need jobs, and then some of the amazing work that they've done through the Chicago-Cook County Partnership to provide jobs, to link people up with jobs that are available. I want to recognize Sherry Runner, the CEO of the Chicago Urban League. Chicago Urban League is doing some amazing programs, placing a lot of young people who've been out of school and out of work, and placing them in Amazon and other companies. Rahid Cosby, right here. He's the Director of Business and Government Strategies at the National Youth Advocate Program. They do a lot of work with kids in care, child care, or in foster care, and youth on the street. Juliana Bell, who's the COO of Westside Health Authority. They do lots of job placement, and maybe in some of the discussions we can hear more about that. David Whitaker, who's the Executive Director of the Chicago Area Project. And Sheila Benson, who is the Executive Director of the Youth Connection Charter School. Youth Connection Charter School is on its 20th year. They've served about 25,000 re-enrolled students, Sheila, and they've graduated over 18,000. It was started in 1997. It's an umbrella group, a charter that contracts with about 20 community groups. It's a level 1 school as a charter school. I want to recognize the elected officials. Bridget Gaynor, County Commissioner. Will Davis, State Representative. And Will is one of the architects of the school formula that will will direct money to the schools that are poorest and with the students most in need. Nobody gave it much of a chance to get passed, and Will was one of the key people that helped pass it. Richard Boykin, County Commissioner. Joe Moore, Alderman. Pat Dowell, Alderman. Senator Maddie Hunter, who's one of the co-chairs of the state task force. There's a state task force that's looking at the issue of youth who are out of school and out of work. We'll have hearings, come up with a report. There's a way to mobilize support for programs that should be expanded for those youth. Representative LaShawn Ford. Representative Chris Welch. Representative Teresa Ma. And Alderman Walter Burnett. And I'll hand it off to Maddie to give a little overview of the task force, and she's the co-chair with Sonia Harper, Representative Sonia Harper, who co-chaired the joint resolution passed unanimously to set up the state task force for developing opportunities for youth out of school and out of work.
Thank you, Jack. Since Jack has given you most of the information that I'm supposed to talk about, that means there's less than I have to say. Welcome and good morning to our first hearing of the official title. That's right in front of my face. It's a state task force on developing opportunities for youth, young adults who are jobless and out of school. And so Jack and his team, as well as many of you, has done such a great job in holding hearings over the years over at the Chicago Urban League, that Jack approached us and said we need to make this an official entity. So State Representative Sonia Harper and I got together with Jack and his team, and we developed language. We had legislation. We put legislation in place last year to create a joint task force meeting, the House and Senate, and it was voted upon and it was passed. And so today is the first official hearing of that task force, okay? And so according to the task force, we have task force members that were appointed by Speaker Madigan, Senate President John Cullerton, the governor, lieutenant governor, as well as the two minority leaders in the House and in the Senate had to appoint one or two people to sit on the actual task force, okay? We will be holding hearings all over the state between now and we'll probably cap it off around October, because according to the resolution, we must present a final report, which includes findings and recommendations to the General Assembly by December 31st this year. And so what we plan on doing is, once we get the findings and the recommendation, and we will take the findings and recommendations based upon the testimony that you all are presenting, as well as the questions and answers that come from this panel as well as the audience, okay? Because everything is being recorded, okay? So we must take good notes and write good reports and good information and wonderful minutes, because all of that comes into the report, since this is an official General Assembly legislative organization now, okay? So, so make sure, if you have something on your mind, if you have some really good suggestions on how we should do things, let us hear it. Let us hear from you, because we need that information. We cannot make all the decisions on our own. We need your input, okay? So thank you very much and have a great day. I have another meeting that I need to run off to in about a half an hour or so, okay? Thank you very much.
Would the members of the task force that are here, and Jose is here, and other members stand up and just be recognized? They don't have much to do, so they can just join the task force. Let me bring Matt Wilson up. We'll give kind of an overview of the staggering situation in terms of youth and young adults out of school and out of work.
Thanks, Jack. Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Wilson, and I'm an economic development planner and researcher with the Great Cities Institute at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And for a number of years, along with the Alternative Schools Network, we have come together to produce some data and reports that provide some context and background to the important testimony that young people are going to provide today. So I first want to thank them for being here, and thank the formation of the task force. It's great to institutionalize what is such a pressing problem, and as we work towards solutions, I just want to thank them for putting this together. So, hope my clicker works here. There we go. So the Great Cities Institute's role in all of this has been to provide data and research that provides some context and background for the testimony that's going to be provided today by the young people. We've always seen our role as supplementing their voices. So I'm going to present some data from a report that we released last June. So in the packets, I should add, there's a sheet that shows the cover of 4 of the reports that we've done for the Alternative Schools Network in the past 2 years. And it has a URL to access those reports. But I'm going to present information from one from June. So some of the findings, joblessness was exceedingly high for black teens and young adults. Joblessness increased over time, so we have data going back to the 1960s. Joblessness was concentrated in racially segregated areas. Joblessness was comparatively worse in Chicago, so we compared Chicago to the county, Illinois, the US, New York, and Los Angeles. And finally, joblessness cannot be seen apart from what is happening in neighborhoods. So to provide some kind of context to some of the violence surges that we've seen in recent years, and I'll also provide some information about how neighborhood economies have changed. So I just want to point out the impact. I advance the slides in 2 places here. So I want to point out the impact that the Great Recession had first in terms of joblessness. So looking back from 1960, so the chart on the left is employment to population ratios in Chicago, and on the right is in Cook County, looking at from 1960 to 2015. So we see a huge dip in 2010. So the Great Recession really had a tremendous impact on employment conditions for 16 to 19-year-olds. And we see that there's a racial disparity between blacks, whites, and Latinos. And when we look for 20 to 24, it's a similar story. The recession again had great impact, but not quite as drastic as with 16 to 19-year-olds. So to provide kind of the extent of the problem, so when we're talking about out of school and jobless youth, the number in Chicago is roughly 58,000, roughly 59,000. In Cook County, around 90,000, and in Illinois, 190,000. So as I mentioned, with Chicago being comparatively worse, we see these are for out of school and out of work rates for 16 to 19-year-olds in Chicago, Cook County, Illinois, and the U.S. We see Chicago has the highest rates, and again, those racial disparities between Black, Latino, and white. The same thing is true for 20 to 24-year-olds. So Chicago comparatively worse, and in the reports you'll see the numbers that are compared to New York and LA, and Chicago actually also has higher rates than those two cities. So back to the point of how this is concentrated, when we look at Cook County, we can see that the south and west sides of Chicago and also the south suburbs have very high numbers of out of school and out of work, 20 to 24-year-olds. So when you see the south suburbs, that's higher than the rest of the county in terms of what's outside of Chicago, and then the south and west sides have tremendously high rates as well. So to provide some context to these numbers, understanding that residential segregation and economic and occupational restructuring is the structural context for what's happening to our young people. It's a pointed reminder that chronic concentrated youth joblessness must be understood in terms of structural roots and not a function of individual attributes. So blaming young people for their plight is nothing to remedy their conditions. Providing structured opportunities for employment and capacity building does. So very briefly, I want to talk about how kind of within the context of how the economy has changed, it's really impacted young people. So I'm going to go through these pretty quick, but this is manufacturing employment. We see in Chicago goes way down for 20 to 24-year-olds. This is by race comparing to the U.S. Latinos being hit the hardest. Then as manufacturing declined, which were good paying jobs, there's an increase in retail trade occupations, which are not as high paying. And then and also an increase in professional and service-related occupations, which are well-paying, but there's a huge gap between, actually, sorry, I'm not advancing on the right thing here. So sorry, this is retail trade, and then this is professional and related services. So we see that there's a big gap in terms of who is taking these jobs between Black and white Chicagoans. Kind of making the point that adequate training can close that gap. So as the economy's changed, the location of work has changed. So we see heavy concentrations of jobs in the Loop now. So between the Loop, the near west side, and the near north side, 51% of all jobs in Chicago are concentrated in those three community areas. So you see tremendous clustering of jobs and disinvestment from neighborhoods. If we compare private sector jobs in 1957 and 2015, we see areas on the left in 1957. If you look at back of the yards, for example, or Inglewood, you can see that in 2015 there was tens of thousands of jobs, fewer jobs in those areas in 2015. So as the economy has changed, the location of work has changed, and we've seen a loss of jobs in neighborhoods. And with that, we see accessibility issues. So this is the number of jobs that are accessible via public transit in Chicago by community areas. So we see if you're living in the Loop in the north side, you have much increased access to jobs compared to if you're living in other areas. And so about the last point before I get into kind of some of the recommendations, which I'm going to go through quickly, is that there's also a cost to the tax base. So we looked at some of the federal income taxes, state income tax liabilities, retirement payroll deductions, and Social Security payroll deductions. And you see that someone that has, for example, a master's degree or higher, in a 45-year working span, they'll generate over $1 million for the economy, whereas someone with below a high school diploma only $44,000. So this is, you can see that investments in education do pay off. They do pay off to the tax base. So I'm going to go through these really quickly. We have some recommendations in the 4 reports. So I just want to briefly say that among some of the strategies, there's at least 4 categories that we outline for initial steps for business, corporations, government, community members, and organizations can take to tackle joblessness. So those 4 categories, so preparing young people from these neighborhoods for living wage jobs that do exist and equip them with, equip them to participate in the emerging economy, so strategies there. Creating direct employment opportunities, reviving economically abandoned neighborhoods, so some examples, attracting anchor employers to higher neighborhood. I am not going through on here, sorry about that. I have to advance them on this computer and there, sorry. So, reviving economically abandoned neighborhoods, so including attracting anchor employers, incentivizing small businesses, enhancing community-led initiatives, and then finally, stopping the bleeding of job loss and reverse policies that reward extraction of wealth from communities. With that being said, I encourage everyone to check out the 4 reports. There's a summary of them that's in a foldable piece of paper that's in was accompanying the folders or maybe in the folders. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Next will be Karen Norrington Reeves, who's the CEO of the Chicago Cook County Workforce Partnership. Karen stepped into this mess when it was before it was emerged and has cleaned up the program extraordinarily and has placed, I think, maybe over 12,000 people. How many? 60,000. Oh, it's amazing. And you know, nothing can help you more than finding a job. And a lot of times people just don't know where to find jobs. Let me recognize Representative Kelly Burke and State Senator Patricia Van Pelt.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. As Jack said, my name is Karen Norrington Reeves, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership. The partnership is the designated administrative workforce development agency for the city of Chicago and Cook County. And as part of our composition, we are an umbrella organization, and so we provide funding to a host of organizations, including many that are represented here today, such as Alternative Schools Network. And we focus on ensuring that federal dollars are being put to their best and highest use to make sure that we are helping people get prepared for and connected to employment opportunities within this region. Included in that is preparing young people, our youth, our young adults, and ensuring that they have opportunities for growth and in career pathways as well. We are also a nonprofit organization, so we don't just manage the federal monies. We also have been able to leverage philanthropic dollars and bring another $50 million in workforce investment into this region since we launched 6 years ago. You might see some slides, some data that you've already seen, because it is the data that we use to help propel us forward to ensure that we're doing our job in the best way possible. So we are focused on ensuring that everyone in this region has the capacity to connect with meaningful employment. That means they have the skills to succeed in that employment, and also that employers have the talent that they need in order to compete globally. This is just a brief overview of the system. So we function with 2 clients in mind, both employers and job seekers. It's not enough for us to prepare people for jobs if we're not talking to employers who are going to hire them. We have to make sure that also the language that we use around our young people is not a deficit-based model. If we are going to employers saying, I have a bunch of people who are ex-offenders, or I have a bunch of people who are low literacy, that is not appealing. It's also not absolutely the truth about who our young people are. Our kids, our communities, are untapped resources that our employers simply don't have enough information on. And so it's our responsibility as those who love our kids, who live in our communities, as those who serve them, to really think about the language that we use when we're talking to employers about connecting them to opportunities. So we serve two bases, employers and job seekers. And we do that through a host of resources and services and an ecosystem that we've developed over the past 6 years. So we work with training providers to make sure that anybody who comes through our system has the skills they need to compete. We work with a business development team, a business services team, that is going to make sure that we're connected with employers who have opportunities for career pathway, not just a stuck, dead-end job that's paid minimum wage, but opportunities to actually grow and attain that middle-class dream and beyond. We also work with career coaches who are responsible for providing the support, the coaching, the advising, the information that all of our job seekers need in order to be competitive in the marketplace. And together, we've created this ecosystem. So we've got that talent pipeline that you see at the top. We're focused on sector-driven strategies because we want to make sure that people are employed in the high-growth, high-demand occupations and high-growth, high-demand sectors within Cook County. It doesn't make sense for us to train you in underwater basket weaving if there's nobody who's going to hire you to do that at a solid wage that is going to allow you to support a family and grow. So we focus on those sectors. We focus on creating that talent pipeline for employers, ensuring that there are career pathways, and we're a data-driven analytical system. So we're looking at the outcomes, we're looking at the inputs, and we want to make sure that there is always constantly in alignment. And so we're always evolving and shifting and creating new programs that match the demand that we know is coming today and tomorrow and years from now. So we administer our services through 3 ways. There's funding that goes to the direct service providers, so an alternative schools network, Youth Connection, charter schools. So I know I've got some other agencies in the house. Skills for Chicago in the Future is here. We have a host of agencies that are community-based organizations on the ground that are delivering services. Safer Foundation is another example. So there's funding that goes through to those agencies to fund the career coaching and advising, the business services teams. And then there's dollars that go for job seekers to actually purchase occupational training. So Malcolm X College is one of the places that you could actually attend for free using the individual training account vouchers that are available through the federal workforce system. And then there are dollars that actually can go to businesses to help reimburse the cost of training and support them onboarding new talent and skills. This is just a snapshot of last program year, and so don't be thrown off by the fact that it says 2016. The program year goes through the middle of 2017. So we provided about 300 on-the-job training programs that was worth over $1 million. So those are dollars that get reimbursed to employers. Placed about 6,000 people through our federal programs only. Don't be fooled, we generally place on average about 10,000 people a year through a mix of our federal program and our nonprofit program. This is just a snapshot of the federal program. We had about 11,000 folks enrolled in training services last year. Enrolled in general services, and about 5,800 that went into educational and vocational training services. As you just saw before, from Matt's presentation, we have roughly 90,000 young people in Chicago and Cook County combined who are both out of work and out of school. I want you to let that number sit with you for a second. 90,000 young people who are untapped, who have talents and skills and abilities that an employer could be putting to use every single day. And contrary to people's beliefs about their skill sets, over 50% of those young people have actually graduated school. We're not talking about the dropouts. We're talking about kids who did what we asked them to do, right? And still are not connected to meaningful employment or educational opportunities. And as you see, they are disproportionately African American and Hispanic. They are also disproportionately 20 to 24, which is solid working age. And if you notice, in the south and west suburbs, this problem is nearly as stark as it is within the city of Chicago. So we pay a lot of attention to the city, and we put a lot of resources into the city, but our suburban Cook County young people are also suffering. We need to lift that up and pay attention from a funding perspective. Here's a little bit of overview around youth from last year. So about 35, just roughly 3,500 young people were served through the federal program, through the federal dollars available. A little bit more than half were female. What we find with our young men and women is their story about where they are and why they are not working or why they're not in school. Two different sets of stories here. Our young men get pushed out of the system, right? Our young women get pulled out, typically to take care of family members and other people. About 5% self-identify as being justice involved. About 45% of the young people that we served last year were high school graduates. And roughly 17% identify as having a disability. And so that's another conversation that we need to add to our discussion about joblessness and youth. Because the majority of people with disabilities are unemployed. And it tells you something about implicit bias and what's happening as they're going through the hiring process. And again, roughly 65% were African American, about 26% Hispanic. You'll see that it adds up to more than 100 because folks can identify more than one racial designation. Our outcomes for those young people, about 67% of those served attained a degree or a credential, a certification, and about 75% were placed in employment or education. So we know that the federal dollars alone will not solve all of our problems. And so we've taken our philanthropic funds and created a host of initiatives. And these are just a few examples provided here. We have some dual generation programs for parenting teams who need to have child care and educational services available for their children while they are also going through and trying to better themselves and obtain an education and training. We have a program with One Summer Chicago so that after One Summer Chicago is over, for those young people who are not returning to school in the fall, we wanted to create a pipeline for them to get connected to meaningful employment and to also obtain additional skills that they need. We've connected with Chicago Public Schools and the SOAR centers. The SOAR centers are the re-engagement centers where people who have dropped out of school can go to get reconnected, find out really how many credits are you lacking. You might not be that far away from graduation. And in addition to getting connected to education, why not take that next step and move forward into employment? So we are actually working collaboratively with CPS and are physically located with them to make sure that there's that matching done so that once you've dealt with the educational attainment side, you can transition into the workforce side. 100,000 Opportunities Initiative is something in which we've partnered with Thrive Chicago and DFSS, and we are the employer partner, bringing those employers to the table to get them connected to young people, and they are doing hiring on the spot at these events. Speaking of hiring on the spot, I would be remiss if I did not give a shameless plug for our next hiring event, which is on March 15th. You can text HIRE ME to 77453 and get information. Get your phones out. I see people taking notes. 77453, text HIRE ME, and you will get information on the next event, which is on March 15th. And it is a collaboration with a number of industry associations here in Chicago. As you saw the slides that Matt presented, most of the jobs are in the loop. So we have partnered with Choose Chicago, the Magnificent Mile Association, the Chicago Loop Alliance, the Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association, and the Illinois Restaurant Association to create strategic hiring events for those jobs in the loop, in that central business district where we know there's just an abundance of jobs. So we are doing pre-screening to help you get prepared, be prepared to interview, have your resumes vetted, go through some mock interviewing, and actually select employers that you want to interview with on March 15th. And many of whom, the majority of which will be ready to extend offers on the spot. MCIP is another initiative that we funded with both philanthropic and federal dollars, Manufacturing Careers Internship Program. And again, you will see there's a theme on those sectors. So we know that manufacturing is a high-growth, high-demand sector in this region. We also know that as the workforce ages, we've got to be able to replace our aging workers with fresh talent who's ready to take over those roles. So that means we've got to offer that training. And so this is a manufacturing careers exploration program. And we have had tremendous success with this. The program has now been expanded. Alternative Schools Network has become a partner. We've now started in Auburn Gresham, and we've taken it out to the suburbs because it was only available in northern Cook County. We now have made it available all throughout Cook County for every young person to take advantage of. And it includes stipends during the training. We've got an 86% job placement rate in that program. You get an internship and then matched with an employer at the end. Opportunity Works is another initiative that we've launched recently. We have had 6 months in this program. We put 200 kids through the program. 154 are now placed in permanent, unsubsidized employment in a host of sectors: manufacturing, transportation, distribution, logistics, and information technology. That last little few, that 40-some that are remaining, are going through subsequent training and programming to help them get placed in employment. In 6 months, we raised $2.5 million for this program, and it's private funding that we've been able to raise to get invested into this. We're partnering with Cook County, a host of foundations, corporations, and CBOs, community-based organizations. We've got 80 employers participating in this initiative alone. Our employers are out there. It is our job to get to them and to help them understand the pipeline of talent that we're able to bring to them. Youth Futures is another initiative. And finally, we just launched an initiative called the Anti-Violence Community of Practice. So many of our young people are coming in with trauma from what's happening in our communities. And we need to have staff prepared to address that trauma and be able to break through any of the challenges that our young people might have. And so this anti-violence community of practice is a space where we are able to provide training for our frontline workers so that they are better able to really be the mentor and the capable adult who's able to reach our young people. Finally, I just want to say there is no single solution to this problem. And there is no single source of funding that is going to resolve this problem. This is a multifaceted, multi-decade problem, and it's going to require a multifaceted approach to resolve it. Comprehensive solutions will address the technical skills development and educational programming that's needed, along with the social emotional development and support that so many of our young people need in the ever-increasing violence that we see in our communities. There's been decreased educational funding and emphasis on subjects that simply do not correlate to long-term employment success, and that has got to change. Our solutions have to be rooted in realistically confronting not only the personal challenges, but also the societal barriers that are outside of our young people's control, such as the hiring biases and the pay inequalities that we see for women and for Black and brown people in the labor market. And while we cannot force employers to hire anyone, we must be mindful, as I said earlier, how we characterize our youth, how we label them, how we speak of our children, and how we speak of our communities. I firmly believe, I know from my years of experience, that our communities hold hidden gems and undiscovered talent, committed, passionate, driven young people who would be an asset to any company willing to offer them an opportunity. Thank you.
I just told Karen I only missed it by 50,000 of the people in place. So. Let me introduce interim president of Malcolm X College, David Sanders. You may be aware that Juan Salgado is now the chancellor of City Colleges. We've worked with Juan for 20 years. He's the best chancellor I've ever seen, and all the chancellors I've worked with going back to the early 70s, who has a real understanding of community-based programs and showed that at Instituto Progreso Latino.
Thank you, Jack. It's certainly an honor to have all of these elected officials, government officials, and all of you who are here today Hope you are enjoying the new Malcolm X College, the School of Health Sciences. We are excited that we're talking about joblessness. This is a mission that is connected directly to the mission of Malcolm X College. We want to take our youth and give them a pathway to success. And let me tell you that every single youth that we have can be successful. There is a pathway for them. There is no doubt that they can achieve whatever they dream, and we ensure that that happens. We did that, obviously, by building this $251 million campus. It was for students. That's all it was about, was for our students to ensure that they have the tools necessary to be successful. And by and large, that has happened. In the time that we have been here, we have turned Malcolm X into the top school in city colleges. We have the #1 nursing program in the entire state, the #1 ADN nursing program in the entire state of Illinois. We were just named the #26 nursing program out of all MSN, BSN, and ADN nursing programs. You might not know what those acronyms mean. Don't worry about it. It's just good. It's good stuff. All right? We are here to help you to be successful, and we need to do this. Every aspect of our city, our government, and our state must collectively get together in order for this to happen. There are a number of ways for our students to have access to jobs. We have internships, we have apprenticeships, and of course, we here at city colleges have certificate programs that in 4 months with $1,753, you just heard Karen talking about it, you can do that for free, either from financial aid through the federal government or through the federal government's WEH program. You can come here and get a job earning $31,500 up to $46,000 a year, 4 months. That's all I'm asking. Come on over here, we'll take care of you. We are lined with it. You know, I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. I can't help it, I'm just doing what I'm doing. But y'all are here, and we want to take advantage of that. I'm going to give up some of my time because we want to hear from the youth, but we're going to have a tour later. I'm going to show you the facility. You're going to be excited about what you're going to see, because it has helped us change the trajectory of the citizens of Chicago, and we're going to continue to do that. Malcolm X is going to be the #1 college in the nation. And it's not because of our great faculty, and they are great. It's not because of our great team, but it's because of these youth. And we need to invest in our youth.
Let me introduce and thank Senator L.G. Sims, who's here. Representative Melissa Conyers-Urban. Alderman Jason Urban. And State Representative Sonia Harper, who's also one of the co-chairs of the task force and one of the co-chairs of the resolution that carried the task force. Let me hand it over to Robin Robinson.
I'm right here.
I'm right here. And what we're running is a discussion between the youth and the businesses here and the elected officials, and then after about 45 minutes, you've got cards. Write your questions, and Robin will speak that. And then the last thing is make sure you get your card validated at the front desk, or you'll owe $40, $50.
That's an expensive parking lot he keeps talking about. So as long as President Sanders was going to do a little recruiting, can I remind you all that the Chicago police exam is open? Y'all interested in being police officers, right? I see there's a great swell of, oh, I can't wait to get there. But, you know, he talked about their pay. We start off at about $46,000. In 18 months, you're making $72,000. So if you're 21 years old, don't have any felonies, give it a try. BeTheChangeCPD.org. Y'all look so excited about that. Be the change. Think about that. Think about that as an initiative of an agency that says we need to change, we need to transform. But I'm not here in my role as Director of Community Affairs for the Chicago Police Department. I actually took the morning off to be here with you. Nor am I here as your program may say as somebody not following my career. They said a Fox 32 News reporter, that's been about 4 years ago, but I left after 30 years. I am here as a Chicago journalist, which means I am a story sharer. And I believe that by sharing stories, what your difficulties may be as lawmakers in getting to the policies that you think will help these opportunity youth. What your difficulties may be as a youth, getting what you need to become employed and get everything that all of us want. As business owners, what you need in order to take advantage of the opportunity that these youth present. So that is my role here today. But there is information that's available to anybody that might be a little sobering for you. We often made the connection between unemployment and someone said nothing stops a bullet like a job, which, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit more than a job. But there is a relationship. Out of school, out of work, at some point, for many people, that means you're going to be out of time. In the last 10 years, 16,600 approximately youth and emerging adults, 24 years old and under, were injured or killed in gun violence. 75% of them, these are 24 years old and younger, 75% were African American. There's a disproportionate harm going on here, and if this can be part of the solution, then you all are part of the people who are going to help solve it. So, you guys already know, you guys get lots of platform, you're elected officials, we're glad you're here, but it's not about you. It's about the people that we want to hear from today. And I believe that not only is hospitality important, thank goodness Malcolm X is a lovely place now. I did a lot of things at the old Malcolm X, and no offense, but dang. It was dark, this is lovely. Where you are, how it feels really matters, hospitality matters. Yes, this is lovely. And who you with matters. So let's see about this. I will introduce our wisdom here, all right? I'm gonna just go call you a panel because you're individuals. Starting with Rashawn McKinney. Rashawn, I want you to tell me who you with, and just for fun, one thing that I might not know about you just by looking at you.
Hey, my name is Rashawn McKinney. I'm with Neighbors United, and one thing that you may not know about me is I'm creative. Creative.
He's creative. Thank you. And you are?
Timothy.
They have their own microphone. How about that?
Timothy Smith. I'm with Neighbors United. One thing you may not know about me, even though I'm on this side of the panel, I am a little bit beyond that 16 to 24-year-old age group. No, seriously, I have 10-year-old twin girls, and anyone who's got twins knows that the time I don't spend with these guys working every day is 100% filled up with those.
All right.
Girls, so thank you.
And you might even be a little sleep deprived. Thank you very much, Tim.
My name is Devontae Avery. I'm with Neighbors United. Something you may not know about them.
You like to cook? What time is lunch? All right, Devontae, thank you.
My name is Alexis Delgado. One thing you Chicago Air Project, one thing you might not know about me is I want to be a surgeon.
You want to be a surgeon?
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Hello, my name is Joshua Mendoza. I come from Chicago Area Project, and something you might know about me is I like sports.
You like sports?
Hello, my name is Amai Lacey, and I'm with Aunt Martha's. And one thing you might not know about me, I work 2 jobs, and I'm in school for pre-med.
Work 2 jobs in school for pre-med.
I'm Alistair Benya. I'm with the National African Youth Program. One thing you might not know about me is I like old school music, like Donny Hathaway.
All right, you're going to be all right.
My name is Steve Gaetan. I'm the Executive Vice President of Monterey Security. Something you may not know about me, I'm a 10-year Marine Corps veteran and did 3 tours in Iraq.
All right. Monterey Security being one of the business partners that we're talking to today. Okay, so my first job. Anybody ever heard of the California Employment and Training Act? I had to see the job. If we all remember what our first job was, that may give us a little bit of, that means it was a federally funded, teach her how to get to work on time and answer the phone, etc. And here I am today, not 60, I wasn't, so 45 years later, and I paid millions of dollars in taxes. So we know it's a good thing for you to be employed. And I guess I would like to ask you, Rashawn, what was your first job?
My first job, I actually was working at JME Marketing. It's one of those places where you wake up early in the morning, you know, you gotta, hey, do you want comment? That wasn't for me, so I'm glad to have this type of opportunity.
What type of opportunity do you have? I keep giving you my microphone. You have your microphone. What kind of opportunity do you have, and what difference has it made, and what can this body here do to expand that to others?
The type of job that we have is landscaping, contracting, and moving, and it has done many wonders for me. You know, it helped me to.
Your microphone's not working. I thought it was just me not hearing it.
Yeah, so Neighbors United is the job that I work at, and we do landscaping, contracting, and moving. It teaches me a lot of skills. It helps me learn new things that I never do before, and it makes me mobile as a person. It makes me feel more as a unique citizen of Chicago. What I'm looking for at you guys is, you know, there's more advice, more help, you know, more opportunities for not just myself, but the rest of the youth in the city, so that we can all have opportunities equal.
All right. And what do you need for that? Maybe Tim, maybe you could say. I mean, how many youth do you serve? How are you able to do that? What support do you get? What support do you need?
Just a little quick context here. Neighbors United was born out of West Side Health Authority's Good Neighbor campaign, and many people here are familiar with that. So it just kicked off as a grassroots organic thing. You know, Kiwana Bell got up to the microphone during the press conference to kick off the Good Neighbor campaign and talk about Opportunity Youth and put out a call. Anyone got any jobs, part-time, full-time, or even one-time? And I was client number one saying, I need a landscaper, let's get some kids. And that got some press coverage, and we haven't stopped working since. Throughout the greater West Side, suburban Cook County, clients continue to call. We're numbering in the hundreds of clients just calling saying, send some guys over, I need help moving, I need help landscaping, and so forth. And right now, the guys took great initiative this week to market their services, and we have the best problem a young business can have, and that is we have to rein in our marketing because we need a truck. To answer your question.
More business than you can handle.
Yeah, we have more business than we can handle, and if we had funding for a second truck, a second lawnmower, you know, then we could double in size overnight. So that's the long answer to what our needs are right now.
How many young people are you serving? Or how many young people are you being served by?
There you go. The program initially started out by giving as many young people a taste of employment as we could. So that number I lost track of. We made a simple pact, you know, regardless of your background, if you've suffered from trauma or violence in your life, if you can't pass a drug test even, if you don't have that healthiest home life, it doesn't matter. If you can show up and help this family move, I promise you I'm going to pay you this amount of money on Saturday. And so we were giving everyone a taste. And then after some meetings halfway through, as it started to grow, we said, let's give a small number of guys a real good job. And so we narrowed that number down to about 4. One of our guys moved on to work for Foot Locker. And now, as the summer approaches, we're going to double and triple real soon because we can't keep up with the demand for work right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Devante, you were also with Neighbors United. So what difference does it make for you?
Well, he came to me at a time where I was, you know, kind of back in the street, doing other things on foot. And he came to me with an opportunity. And I told him that I've always had a background in carpentry and work on my hands. So he came to me with opportunities, you know, when you're doing landscaping or whatever, it'll give you opportunity to at least work with your hands and do something that's not sitting in the office every day or going to a warehouse every day doing the same thing.
Kind of fit your
needs. And then, you know, after the first year, we started getting requests for like specifically carpentry, you know what I mean? And I opened up a carpentry division to the company. So they gave me the opportunity to as a young black man, get a first taste of like running my own business and dealing with clients on a first-hand basis and just handling business that young guys my age or my demographic don't get to experience.
We're enough for that opportunity. Thank you, yes. Anytime that any of you want to butt in, not yet. Okay. Yes. How much for the truck? That's a good question. How much you need for the truck to expand?
Well, I'll tell you, we had a GoFundMe page that bought us our first work truck, and we got $3,500. And anyone who's ever bought a $3,500 truck knows you better also have an account for repairs ready right away. You know, so we'd like to shoot a little higher for our second work truck, and yeah, so that's the minimum right there. Thank you for asking.
Oh, you have to buy another repair shop.
Yeah.
The next thing. Tell us who you are, please speak. Alexis. You are with Chicago Area Project, which means that you are one of the young people who goes there for employment services, job readiness. What exactly has your relationship been to that?
So I'm actually the president of Chicago Area Project, so I kind of help run it.
She looks so young. Do you see that mistake I just made? Okay, she's the boss. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm 16 and I'm actually currently employed as well, and I'm a junior in high school. So for me, having a job teaches me responsibility, and I feel that with more youth employment programs, it does help keep young people my age on the track, because I work in a retail store, and although it's not the worst job, I know that I don't want to stay there forever. And as I mentioned earlier, I want to be a surgeon. So for me, that motivates me to stay on track with my grades and make sure that I'm on the right path, you know?
What is Chicago Area Project, for those who aren't familiar?
So it's a program that we basically try to motivate other teens and help them with like either personal issues or, so we meet once a month and we speak about issues in our city. And one of the main ones is unemployment. And a lot of the teens my age have trouble finding a job. Now the reason that I'm employed is because my job was basically handed to me. So I have a friend that worked at the store that I work at right now. I work at Penny, and that's the only reason that I'm working. Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
So this is a youth-led initiative. And what do the young people that you speak with say is their number one barrier to getting a job?
So it's basically a bunch of different branches to it. So it would be transportation. The reality of it is that a lot of us do help our families with either bills or, you know, some kids my age might even have their own kids already. So it's about basically supporting themselves and their family, and it's difficult.
Okay, thank you. Joshua, you're also with Chicago Area Project. Your perspective on what barriers, particularly those that this assembled body might be able to address?
Well, like,
say it any way you want. Let me ask you a better question. Where do you work?
I don't know, Roberta.
Would you like to?
Yes.
And what is the number one thing keeping you from working? School. Time, right? So when summer comes around, it'd be nice if you could have a full-time job and just stack that money over the summer, right?
Yes.
All right, and where would you begin? What would be your strategy? Are you just going to go to the mall and apply to all the stores, or is there some place you feel you can go and get assistance with this?
Yeah, I would just start like going to every store that they're hiring for, and just start asking for job applications.
Okay, well, you look like you're already at work, okay? I'm telling you, you're dressed like an executive. Thank you so much. All right, so what's Aunt Martha's? What is Aunt Martha's?
Okay, Aunt Martha's is a youth program. They help you find jobs as well as get into school. So I would like to start by my story. I was fresh out of high school. I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I did work in retail at City Trends. My father passed, my brothers left, and my mother, she can't walk. So everything was based on me. So I walked out on faith, and somehow I came up on one of the counselors named Larry Russell at Aunt Martha's. And so it was my brother and I before he left. So we were speaking with him, and he was like, well, we're going to get you to school. So I'm like, this is some kind of hoax. Like, this can't be. And so I told him what I wanted to do, and I wanted to get in the medical field right out of high school. So, of course, I had to start off with the CNA program. He got me into school, and after I finished, we found a job at Glenshire. I love that place dearly. I love working with residents. Glenshire Nursing Home in Richmond Park. And so I left due to school, and after that I'm like, I need another job that will accommodate my school schedule. And so now I'm working at the Villa in South Holland as a CNA supervisor. I can't thank office enough. They helped me through many trials and tribulations, especially with transportation. Now transportation is rough. Like I couldn't even get to my interview without markers. Like they helped me get to that interview. And it was a stormy day. Do you remember it was February 10th and it was very stormy, the snowstorm? Oh my goodness. So he helped me get there, and I believe that transportation, that's the biggest barrier.
Okay, thank you very much. So what happened was you were able to get an education that led you into a field, and you say you loved that nursing home, so you loved what you chose, and it made a huge difference for you. You were headed where otherwise? Otherwise, had Aunt Martha's not intervened in your story?
I don't know what I would be doing, because in the retail city trends, my check was basically $436, and what bill, like how many bills can you pay with that? Now, because of I'm making a living. Like I can pay bills and have time to have fun and splurge when I actually do have the time. And so yes, and it helps me get to school as well. So.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Pass that working microphone down. All right, Alan,
Alan J.
Alan J.
That's my whole first name.
Your whole first name is Alan J.
Yeah.
I like that. What has been your experience in the job pursuit?
It's been real difficult. I mean, you know, when you go to high school, they try to get you into college. Do college, they don't tell you what happens after college, after you get that diploma. It's a job to find a job after that.
Right.
It's been real tough for me. I do have a record. It's not major. But unfortunately, the barriers that I had growing up, my father didn't really raise me. I was raised by my mother. As a Puerto Rican kid, you know, your only hope for growing up is just becoming a baseball player, becoming a baller. You know, trying to take your family out. I worked super hard up until 18 years old. My dreams were shattered just by one final game. My team messed it up for me. You know?
But you were working toward that one goal of being a baseball player.
Yeah. That was my whole life. My whole life was into baseball. You know, the problem with high schools as well is they don't implement that therapy with what you want to do in life.
Like a career vision.
You know, because as a black and brown kid, all we look up to is either music artists or sports athletes. Like, what hope do we have? There's nothing else. Ain't nobody want to grow up and be like, you know what, I want to be a chemist, or I want to be a mathematician, or I want to be a mechanical engineer growing up as like 5 years old. You would never hear a kid say that.
And what would plant that seed in a young person's mind?
I think it's just, you know, the way we develop our youth, the way we don't recognize black and brown people, you know, different job opportunities. Somebody who's a mechanical engineer, there's no, how do I say, media towards that person, you know, as a LeBron James level or
you need to see a bad Puerto Rican chemist. I got you.
You know, it's just, I believe there are good people in this world, but I think that good people do nothing. And I always grew up with that quote, and I always try to go against it. In order to evil to triumph, good people have to do nothing. So I hope that, you know, representatives take that quote with you. In order for evil to triumph, you good people have to do nothing.
You want them to do something.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. So Steve, you're a business owner.
Yes.
And you have experience in attempting or being successful at taking advantage of the opportunity that youth present. Am I right?
Yes.
All right, in what way?
So Monterey Security was open in the basement of my brother's home. It's a family-run business-owned business. He was a Chicago police officer at the time, and we grew up in the Pilsen area. So we felt, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, so we thought if you had to go downtown, that meant you had a lot of money. Or if you went to a Bears game, that means you had a lot of money, or we snuck in. So that's why this company was open, is to create opportunities for disenfranchised communities like us. And give everyone, like this table here, an opportunity to say, we can do the work just as good, if not better. So when it was open in its infancy, we learned that a lot of the issues were public transportation, lack of money or funding for training. We work with NIAP because we work cohesively together. So one of the things we also want to do is make sure that we can get some more federal funding. They meet us halfway by transporting the individuals to us, paying for training, and then we offer people plenty of careers, not just jobs, but career. A path using this business as a vehicle. If it's, you want to be a surgeon, that's fantastic. Let's work together to get you there, and at the same time, let's put money in your pocket so you can enjoy and splurge when you can. And then there's like-minded people. This is where we feel comfortable going into all these communities. And when we show our partners at the first time, we had to convince them, but when they said, hey, we need a diverse group, and we showed up primarily with African Americans, Hispanics, and a percentage of whites, they were floored.
They said that's not what we meant. We meant you to sprinkle a couple into your
It's like a campaign. You're going door to door. You're saying every family, let's say you have a record. That's great. We have a second chance program. We'll get you to work. And we've sent letters on behalf of these workers, our partners, to the state to say, hey, they've changed their life around. You know, they made a mistake maybe when they're younger. Doesn't mean they can't be a positive contributor to society. And this is how we're doing it. We're doing it in a safe manner, and we're having and creating opportunities for the people.
So this is part of your business model.
We've been doing this.
And is it profitable for you?
It is very profitable, but we need a team membership. You know, we need help getting this message collectively. You know, not just, you know, you live over there, we live over here. It doesn't matter to us. We just want to create opportunities because they deserve it. We all deserve it. You know, and we believe it represents the city well. So from Chatham to Pilsen to the suburbs, wherever, it doesn't matter. We're getting you across that finish line.
You talked about federal funding. What from the state have you received, or would you like to?
We receive $0 from the state or from the federal government or the city. That's not, we're talking about youth programs, so we can work closely together with them so they can have, you know, an extra vehicle or some transportation to get these people to help them come get to us so we can put them to work right away. You know, we figured out that if you do have a record, we can put you in a guest service position, so a greeter, an elevator operator, and we'll team you up with an off-duty police officer or a teacher, because we have teachers, students work with us, and you establish that bond and communication. So we just recently, we had last month, 2 of our employees that have been with us for 5 years started off just like people here, and their dream was to be a Chicago police officer. So we have 2 now in the academy that work with them. And one of the messages that the city has said is, why isn't the police department reflective of our community? And this is one of the reasons why. And we're, even if it's one person at a time, we're making a difference, but we need everyone else to buy in on this program because the word is not getting spread fast enough.
All right, wonderful. Specific questions for specific people here, or you would like to just hear what the audience wants to ask? Yes.
You know, I think the recognition of the criminal record issue is huge, and I think that we always have to remind ourselves that this isn't something that came down from heaven that said employers can't hire someone who has a criminal record, because there are jobs for which you can probably have no criminal record, and there's certain criminal offenses for which you're really unqualified for a lot of jobs, but there's a whole lot in the middle. And these are man-made problems. These are man-made rules that can be then unmade by other public pressure. And I think one of the things we're seeing post-Parkland is when a group of people really rallies around something and keeps pushing it, and then joins up with the work of Black Lives Matter and joins up with the work of the activism that's been happening on the street, you can finally potentially create some change. But this issue of the criminal record piece, I think one of the things we need to do around employment is figure out some cohesive way to talk about it and put pressure on large employers to change the way they think about it. Because if you don't have, these are three things you have to do. Not just that it's a problem, but these are the three solutions. I think we're going to get stuck, and you're always in this problem where a whole class of people is shut out from ever having gainful employment again.
But do you have a question?
I think as the advocates come together and, look, I talked to Sherry Runner on our way out. I think many of us have been here every year for the last several years and have seen really similar statistics over and over again. And so the question is, what comes out of this day, and can we all come together with not just about finding new jobs, but getting rid of some of the impediments that are there. So as the advocates and others are here, and for my colleagues who are in elected office, is that a task for us to take on or work on a common cause?
Is that a task for you all to take on as a body, or them, or is it everybody all together? I know that I have some hands over here. I really do want a question. All right, thank you.
Okay, I was wondering if those of you that are working with the youth that have records, are you aware that a youth can sign, well, anybody can seal their records after 3 years unless there's a domestic violence, animal abuse, DUI, or sex crimes other than prostitution. You can seal prostitution too. But so if you have any youth that have a record, they can actually seal it after 3 years if it's not one of the 4 areas. You are aware of that?
We've helped a lot of employees do that. So just to give you a grand scheme of numbers, right now we're currently at 4,500 employees. And right now we're getting ready for the summer. We're looking to hire over 2,500 more employees. And a good percentage of them are our second chances. But we've helped and advocated for a lot of these individuals and educated them because they can't afford it or have the information on where to go. So we've walked them through this process.
But a lot of people don't know where to start for an expungement process. So, and I know that there are some funded opportunities to help them with that, right? So
yes,
to accompany them along that. You, someone right here had a question.
Halfway question. All right. So to Mr. Smith, are you aware that the city has a website where you can go in and look at surplus equipment, surplus vehicles, and if you see something, an alderman from your area or any of us here who are elected officials from the city side can help you access that at no cost. And this is the website for you.
We got gifts here.
Thank you. One of our first clients did point that out to us and gave us a tour of the overstock for government auction products and so forth. And yeah, so thanks for reminding us, because it is time for us to go shopping, both on the moving side, because we're expanding as a moving operation, so we could use our own box truck, as well as a pickup. So yeah, we will definitely look into that. These are the kind of resources that we need, locally. The world of providing tax breaks for, a target to move into the community and so forth, I'm outside of that. I actually personally question how equipped are some of these large corporations to, deal with the trauma that we experience with our youth, and to some of the transportation issues and so forth. And, so on our level, help us out directly and provide these resources is much appreciated. So, thank you.
We'll be right back to you.
I'm Alderman Walter Burnett, Alderman from the 27th Ward. Welcome to my house. All right, this is our ward. But anyway, I want to commend all of you. Very impressive young people. Monterey, I know of you, you do a lot. Karen just talked about earlier about her job fair that's coming up on the 15th. She's doing that in coordination with True Chicago, which I'm on the board, getting ready to go to the meeting after this. But also myself and Jesse White, we're giving a citywide job fair on the 30th at the Jesse White Center from 10 to 2. But one of our challenges is, and I do a lot of job fairs, you know, I do a lot of construction fairs, a lot of different things to try to get folks to come. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's like we can't get people to come. Tell me, what is it that we can do to motivate young people to, one, first of all, come to a job opportunity fair? Like Karen's place, they literally have jobs they're going to give people, right? What is it that we can do to motivate folks to come? That's the big thing, is getting them to come. And then also, what is it that we can do to help the young people have confidence that they have an opportunity to get a job?
They don't want to come waste their time or feel unprepared or uncomfortable. I want to ask the young people here to answer that. You have the microphone.
Yes, maybe because I'm from the suburbs, and so when teachers, they actually do point them out when we do have our job fairs, okay, so this such and such giving this. So we look at how are we going to get there. Most people don't have a way there. That's the biggest thing. So maybe can we bring some of it to the suburbs and into schools?
If we're talking, this is an alderman in Chicago, so maybe to the neighborhoods and not have it but you're doing it in your ward, correct? So is there somehow I mean, they are young people, right? So the fact that we blame them for not wanting to go to a job fair, how do we make it more inviting for them? How do we change the invitation? Did you go to any job fairs?
Yes. When I was in school, I couldn't afford to come out here when I was in high school, so it's I would have loved to, but we just couldn't. So
Sometimes it's like you need a network of organizations that are connected to the youth that you're trying to reach to this topic. All right, Alexis had a...
Going along with what she said, I'm currently a high school student, so I think it does help us if we bring it into the schools more. Like she said, a lot of people don't really have a way to get there, and if you go to them, it might motivate them, and it could really help them out, you know?
Good idea. Because we have the idea sometimes if we build it, they will come, and then we're like, what's wrong with them? They're not here.
A lot of jobs like maybe McDonald's, for instance, it may not catch the attention of people. Not everybody has a dream of working in McDonald's. And then it's not always like you'll find a job and you may get a customer service job, but there's no opportunity to move up the ladder. So it's not promising for nobody who actually wants something out of themselves, who actually wants something out of the future. It's not promising. Nobody can really foresee having a family and raising a family and being able to provide financially off of a 10-hour job. You know what I'm saying?
So when we criticize you for, well, you just do anything, why aren't you willing to do this? What you're saying is that they have seen enough and know enough to know there's not a future in that.
Yeah.
But other young people who know that any working is part of your repertoire that's going to help you work, it depends on your age too, I guess.
I mean, it's okay to just take a job just to say I'm employed and I can provide some money for myself. But it also don't look good when you turn in your resume and you got 15 different jobs on there within 2 years. Or you got, you got one job that's not really credible to a bigger corporation, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people that's coming out of high school that think about the long run. They want something that's going to be able to put some money to the side, save for a car, save for moving to an apartment and something like that. Whereas a lot of jobs that said, job fairs that they have in the city, they have like a meaningless job, like Walgreens or something like that. It's not motivating to the youth.
So yes, especially if you're at a certain age.
Yeah.
Okay. You want better opportunities at the job fairs, and maybe it's a little bit of both, right? So a 16-year-old may be okay working at McDonald's, right? But if you know, once you're
Somebody that's 26 is not gonna want
not got 26, yeah. You agree with that? And I have,
Unfortunately, I think if people assume that they're all entry level, and I mean, we've had job fairs where people started working at ComEd, right, on the spot. You know, so you should never assume that it's just entry level jobs. Even though McDonald's paid like, you know, a decent buck, and you get health benefits and a lot of other things quiet as this stuff, huh? And employment training. And they pay for college. You know, a lot of people sleep on some of those jobs, but some of them are better than what you think they are.
But the jobs, like you said, like ComEd and FedEx and that, I don't went to a lot of those jobs there myself. And it'd be somebody that, you know, not to use anybody for a bad example, it'd be somebody that looks more, you know, appealing to the eye. They may come in, they may be able to afford nicer interview clothes. They may be taught different interview tactics or things to do that kind of get you through an interview process. Where people that come from other areas, they're not exposed to that. They're not exposed to interview training. They're not exposed to even a store like Ross or somewhere where you can go get less expensive stuff that look still good in the interview. They're not exposed to those type of things.
And I appreciate that. And that's why on March the 29th, Jesse White and I are having a job fair. And at that job fair, we have a room where you can go get a brand new, you can get a suit and you can dress up. And we have an area where you can go and get with someone and they can prep you to be able to go and interview with some folks. So a lot of us are putting a lot of work into trying to help folks to get jobs. And so you can't limit yourself with us. And don't assume things, because a lot of us are still working on trying to make it better and easier, and we're learning as we go too. And we want you all to have jobs. You know, especially like guys who live around me, I'd rather them have a job than to be looking at my bike in the garage. You know what I'm saying? So we want folks to work in the neighborhood, and so we all are trying to come up with better and different ways of doing it. And we still need help. I think that school part, going to the schools, that's a fantastic idea. I never would have thought of that. I think that's a great idea, and maybe that's something we need to incorporate into our job fairs coming up. So thank you for that.
thank you for hitting on the preparation point. So even if you have a place where you can get a suit and change into it, you have the knowledge that that's something that you want to do and that it's important, starts with somebody talking to you about that. I'm sorry, I somebody I promised down there, but I'm coming. All right.
Good morning, I'm Alderman Urban here from on the west side as well. My question is very simple. What do you believe that we, as elected officials at the various levels, can do to help you, A, prepare for your job, B, find something, and C, hold on to it? Because we find people, they get a job, but they can't hold on to the job. Some people can't even get the job. So what do you think, for as youth in your position, that we can do to help you maintain that continuum so that as you stay, can provide a better life for your family, save some money, move up the ladder, all of those types of things?
Alderman Burnett said that they got a job fair on the 29th, but I haven't heard about it. I mean, I'm socially active on social media and all that. I haven't heard about it. And I know nobody that I talk to on a daily basis has heard about it. So I mean, I guess marketing it for one to people who don't know about events like this. You know what I mean? They may be sitting at home right now. They don't know about it. But you gotta market it for people to even get out there to get into those programs.
Communication. He said there were other things that they're waiting.
The State Senator LG Sanders, Devontae, how do we market? How do we meet you where you are? Because we have communication avenues, but I need to know what you use that will help me be able to reach out and communicate to you so that we're making that connection that Alderman Irvin is talking about.
I guess the best way to get to youth in our 20s is on social media. Everybody on social media, everybody on social media. You Like, if y'all flood social media, people will see it. If somebody gonna share something, somebody gonna repost something, you know what I mean?
So Devontae, every year, myself and folks in my office, so myself, before me, Senator Trotter, Representative Evans, Cook County Commissioner Stanley Moore, we do a job fair every year, and we post it on social media. We posted an interview prep session. You know how many folks came? And we posted on social media, we blasted it out, we paid for the booths. You know how many people came? 12 people. 12 people came after we sent it out, spent hundreds of dollars to promote it, sent it out, put it in local papers. 12 people showed up. So I need to know how to meet you where you are. I can put it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, which we did all of those things. Paid for the booths, did all those things, and we still only had 12 people. So I need to know how to meet you.
Maybe, can you have the youth do it?
I was just gonna hire somebody.
That's a job. Have young people have different networks. Young people have different networks.
Yes, maybe if you have the youth post, have a group, like such as everyone up here or anyone, and have the youth post it.
How many youth in the room have liked an elected official's page, or you like your local elected official's page? And those are ways to do that. And if we post that, then if you see it, then you can share it. But your network has to go outside of just your friends. If you go, everybody in here should like your local elected official's page. You send them a friend request, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Instagram. Everybody in this room should be doing that. So then when that information goes up on my page, then you can share it.
It's maybe about 20% youth in the Austin area where I'm from that know who our alderman is.
So it's a relationship issue.
I can see my alderman on Facebook. I can see him walk right past me, and I guarantee I probably wouldn't know who he is. You know what I mean?
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a disconnection problem. Okay, so.
Thank you, Robin. So my question to you all is, what I know is jobs are connected to skills. What can schools do to better prepare you to be confident so that you can go to work and look for work? The key is that when you go to school, you go to learn and you go to be prepared to go to work. One, do you feel confident that the schools that you're attending prepare you for it? And what should they be doing if they're not?
So I think high schools to begin with, they don't really prepare us to be confident and have jobs. So I think what we need to do first is, we have our counselors and all that help us with our schedule, but they don't really, they don't help us with what happens after high school. So once you graduate, then you're on your own, you figure out what you want to do from there. And some people don't have the parent figures to motivate them to continue on with their school career. And I feel we had a lot more people would stay in school and not drop out, and they would have the motivation to continue their education and even get a job, which is why we're here.
I thought we were having some questions from the audience. Are there cards? Okay, can someone pick them up and bring them up? Thank you. You see I've got this back on schedule, right? You look at your agenda. This is what we would term a live broadcast, in real time. So while we're waiting for some of those questions to come up, the idea of having things for Opportunity Youth, they don't show up, they say they don't know about them. To me, that boils down to a relationship issue, right? So how do you involve them in the co-creation of some of these things you're having, which they would therefore buy into because it's theirs? I'm wondering if you feel invited to the table when we're talking about these things. Any of you? Okay, Steve?
We struggle as a company with the same challenge, because 16 years old you can start working as a guest service with a worker's permit. But it wasn't until we actually went to the schools and had participation from the students' parents or teachers, and even some of the principals that came out with the bus that we paid for to have them come out to like Soldier Field or something. It wasn't until they participated with their students is when they were able to come to our office, or we went to the physical schools and then brought them to and from these events and jobs. That was,
You had to get that buy-in.
we had a significant increase in just participation when we did that, but we struggled for many years of disconnect. It seemed like we were talking past one another, not with each other. We only got a good turnout once the teachers started getting involved at multiple schools. That was the only way we started reaching the younger generation of students.
So we've talked about what to do in school.
Yeah, I wanted to agree with the young man, what he said. Like, I never met my alderman, I never met my representative. All I seen was banners, and all I seen was re-election stuff. You know, nowadays I feel like parents aren't even parents, they're more friends. When I grew up, my mom would beat, you know, she would beat me in the head with stuff because at the end of the day,
He said beat.
she would, like, metaphorically and physically.
Lovingly correct.
But she would try to teach me, you know, why it is, you know, what I was gonna get out of that discipline. And I feel like, though, I see in our generation nowadays, even, you know, with our music, that's a representation of where we're going. You know, our kids, I don't have kids, but you know what I'm saying? The kids nowadays, the parents aren't really parents. You know, I feel like we have to keep implementing, not give up on them, but because they're our future generations, we still gotta teach them what's the benefits of, you know, job fairs and what's all that, because it's not appealing to them. They'd rather watch World Star, they'd rather do other type of stuff. We gotta keep it real, we can't give up on the youth, and I feel that's a problem. That our representatives just give up on you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Don't feel stereotyped. He wasn't talking about you specifically.
I never believe that any elected official is giving up on the end.
But could that not be true for some elected official? Can you speak for all?
Yes.
Yes?
In that respect, I believe fairly comfortable in speaking for elected officials. I don't believe that elected officials have given up on our youth. I would fundamentally, I push back on that and I reject that. Where I think we are, what we do have is a disconnect. I agree with you. There's a disconnect, but that's why you see so many of us asking, how do we reach you? How do I get to you? How do I, because, you know, that's why we're here today. I don't understand, I don't watch World Star. It's not something that I watch, but it is something that's appealing to other folks. But how do I get to where you are? How do we make that connection? Because there are generational differences, and I readily acknowledge that. But I want to make sure that you have all the opportunities that you desire to go where you want to go, and I want you to be better than I ever have been. Go where I never dreamed. But I don't believe that elected officials that give up on young people. I don't. I think a lot of them, they want to know what you need, but they don't hear that. There's that disconnect, and we're not hearing from each other. We're not talking. That's why we're here.
But coming from like Humboldt Park, I've never met none of my officials. They never went to my high school. You want, you know, better. You want, you know, better. Outcast fair, job fairs and whatnot. But they never came to our high school. You know, I think one way that I went to Noble Street Charter, one of them, what they did is on a Friday of we have 2 semesters, every like last semester or last month of the semester, we had like a job fair. That whole Friday, there was different type of jobs. We had a piece of paper, it was for a grade. We wrote notes, we actually talked to people. That's a way that maybe you can implement that, because you have to go to the kids. Like I said, like my mom, she would beat me upside the head with stuff for me to better myself. That's the way we got to do with the kids. When I'm not saying you not giving up on them, what I'm trying to basically say is you're not on top of them like you should be. Because at the end of the day, they're still young. You're still young individuals. You see,
we talked about what they can do as elected officials, and I don't think that you meant every elected official has given up on young people, but what is the evidence to the contrary? So I talk about my first job was federally funded. Where are the opportunities that municipalities local, state, federal can provide, that used to exist and no longer do. Let's go for the state level, okay, real quick.
I think one of the key things that between the city and Cook County that we have done has been the Chicago Cookboard Partnership. I believe that there was just too many cooks in the kitchen trying to figure out what needs to be done, and now we have one central place where everybody can go, that's funded by the city, funded by the federal government, funded by the county, and funded by the state, that is driving folks through these work partnerships. I have a center in my ward, and we constantly send people there that are looking for work because they have all of the resources that one needs. If you don't have a job right now, and I tell people this, it's not because there's no jobs out there, it's because we have not connected you with the right people. And I firmly believe that the Chicago Cookboard Partnership is the place to send folks for these types of jobs. So the one on the west side is right at Albany and Harrison. If you're on the west side, it's at Albany and Harrison. I don't know what the rest of them are, but that one I know works well.
I think we ought to, can we get a hashtag for this while we're here, when we start the communication opportunity? Here. Yes, what's the website?
Workforceboard.org, and it will show you the list of all the workforce centers in your area. We have 10 workforce centers in the city of Chicago. We have 8 satellite centers. We got 3 centers that focus exclusively on specific sectors. I have cards and materials for you all. We also have the flyers for the next hiring event. We don't just focus on retail and hospitality. We focus on healthcare and anyway.
I thought you were gonna get a website, okay, but that's a great opportunity. So any information you have, let's just right now create something, hashtag opportunity youth. Anybody wants to be connected to this, anybody has information, resources to offer, I just invented one right there. I channel my inner 16-year-old. Okay, all right, so we need you all to be real lean in your responses. Did you have something, you did, I missed you.
So I think we need to have a two-way street, right? I know elected officials, we fund a lot of organizations to try to reach out to kids. Matter of fact, quiet as it's kept, I have a website, I have an e-blast that I e-blast out to everybody in my ward, try to get folks to sign up for it. It's becoming so popular that I have businesses calling me because a lot of businesses can't find enough people to work, quiet as it's kept, and they like, can we get on your e-blast? They're looking for outlets to try to reach people. So I think, young people need to recognize that you need to talk to your government officials also. We all have open door policies. I recruit young people. I have one of the largest young democratic organizations in Cook County. We try to get more and more young people involved with us in our ward, and then we do scholarships. We do a myriad of things trying to get young folks around, connected. But some young folks, you gotta like go on the street and talk to them, and we do that too. But we all have to do better in communicating with each other. You all are not looking at my website, you're not looking at my Facebook, right? You're not taking my tweets, right? Because I'm not in you all's kind of clique, right? For whatever reason, I'm old and all that stuff to you guys. But sometimes you need to open up and just check us out and see what we had to offer. Because we're the ones who try to connect the dots with you, the city, the county, private industry, the whole 9 yards. Like I'm an alderman of Google, McDonald's corporations, Groupon, the medical district, all of those things, and be trying to reach out to folks to get jobs with these companies. Thank you.
Ditto, says Alderman Bell. So we should put in what they're calling near full employment. It doesn't feel like that if you're unemployed, does it? But there is a demand out there. I got to get to these questions. How do we help young people build social capital with the adults around them who can help them advance? So not just any old body, but how do you talk about connecting and what have you? Any suggestions from our young people first? Yes, come on, Alexis, can you pass it? Oh, that's right. You do have 8 working mics. I don't think it's that one now. Yeah, it is.
Is it working? Okay, so going along with
Speak into it.
going along with what Alderman said, there's that disconnect between us. And so I think something that would really help us is if the young man at the end, he mentioned how his first job was with ComEd and going around to different houses and asking them if they wanted to sign up for it and everything, right? So if we were to get the transportation that we needed, we can go door to door and tell them, we're having this job for this day, and maybe we could pick you up from your house and take you there. But the issue is that we would need the buses or whatever cars to be able to take them. Because of that disconnect that, we don't know our elected officials, they can, there's a communication between us that we can help other youth.
They need some connectors.
Yeah.
And the transportation has come up repeatedly. Did you want to add to that? So remember the question is, how do we help young people build social capital, so network with adults around them that can actually help them advance?
Yes.
Amalgo, you want? He's got a mic, if you pass it up. Yeah.
The elected officials, they gotta trust that, we actually know a little bit about what we're talking about. And we living in the situation that we talk about every day. You know what I mean? We probably know the best about what our situation is. So they gotta trust that we actually know a little something.
Maybe stop trying to do things for you and do things with you. Help you create some of those things. But it's all on both sides, as everyone has pointed out. I'm going to get to some more of these questions because the audience has been y'all are a great audience. I hear you listening to these young people. They are really not a good audience. What, from public officials, is the barrier to engaging young people as consultants, partners in solving community employment? Public health approaches have included paying community members to consult and outreach. So how about that from a business standpoint? Elected officials, what is the barrier to engaging young people as consultants and partners in solving community employment?
All right, I might be beat up for this, but it goes back to when I was coming on, there was a comedian, his name was Robin Harris, and what he said one time was that opportunity is not going to come find you. It's not going to come find you. You're not going to be sitting at home and who at the door? Job. It is just, it doesn't work that way. And so as we talk about trying to meet one another, you gotta get out. You know what I'm saying? You got to do a little reach out. Now granted, we try to reach out, and I will honestly say I'm not the best at trying to find, youth, but at the same time, if we're both looking, we may catch each other's eye. And a lot of challenges is that in many cases, we're not equipped to find, our board has 50,000 people in it, youth, everybody. In a lot of cases, we're not as equipped, but I guarantee you, if you knock on the door or if you reach out, email, whatever, that I would bet you that we as elected officials want to engage and will engage. It's just we have a challenge making that connection. So our doors are definitely open, but we definitely need you guys to do some reach out as well.
Okay, here's an interesting question for business owners, and you have to take all of those because you are the only one here, Steve. How will you or do you address the trauma that youth experience? Do you address that while they're employed with you? Get that, Mike?
We address it from the second they come to our door or from the second we go to their community. And we usually pair them in with a similar story person who's been successful, meaning they further their career since they've been with us. And not all of them stay with us, so a lot of them, like I said, they go on, we help them move on to like a Shed Aquarium, a Lincoln Park Zoo, or any of our partners that we partner up with. But they're usually teamed up with someone with a similar story, but they're just a little bit further along down the program, and that's kind of how we do it.
A lot of talk about trauma-informed processes these days and recognition that there are entire communities that are experiencing some level of trauma. Did you guys want to address that at all? No? All right, I like this question, and I'm going to ask Sonia, to answer, Representative Sonia Harper, who's the co-chair of this. Once this task force concludes its research fact-finding, what are the next steps? What will be done to ensure real action is taken by employers, elected officials, and organizations to employ more youth?
Sure, so what we're doing here today is we're hearing. That's why you don't hear me doing a lot of talking, because we're listening, right? And so after this hearing takes place and after we gather all of the feedback over the times that we're doing these hearings across the state, then we'll take that information back. We'll see what legislation probably needs to be proposed, either on a state level or on a city or a county level. We'll also take a look at the current programs that we already have going and see if they are fitting our needs the best, see if there needs to be some changes to be made to better fit the needs of our youth who are unemployed and out of work and out of school as well. And so that is something that we also continuously need you guys' help on as we continue to rate and see how a lot of these programs and services out here are currently serving our youth.
So I am at exactly 11:35, which is the time that we're supposed to end. There are a couple of things that aren't really questions, but I want people to have their comments on the record. Someone talking about the marketing piece, that posting on social media only works if you have followers to see it. One thing that elected officials can do is work on engagement strategies to build awareness and drive subscriptions. That way your announcements won't fall on deaf ears. Like I said, this is not a question. So, yeah, you snap it over there for it. Okay, thank you. You guys are an amazing group. Any final words? I want to give you all the last word. Any final words? All right. None? No? Thank you so much. Thank you for your participation. Thank you to our elected officials.